What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the collective clips where you already know we get it in. But before we get it in, let's get to this intro. Welcome back to the collective clips. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate your support. Definitely make sure that you hit that notification bell. Put that on all. You know, if you put it on anything else, it'll be personalized and you won't get all the notifications, and then you'll be stuck without supers for the day and you'll be super upset and super sorry. So thank you for all the support, man. I wanted to talk about something I seen that happened yesterday. A youngster was convicted of negligent homicide. And this story right here just resembles so much the Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony story. This story right here has a few plot twists. It's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people utilizing this case right here. And it's Texas teenagers, again, out of school. And they're utilizing this case to make a statement and a point and to say, look, Karmelo Anthony should be treated in the same fashion. And you know what? To tell you the truth, I disagree and agree to just a little bit. And here's what the case is. On May 3rd, 2022, two youngsters went to school, two teenagers, Belton High School in the state of Texas, right? Jose Ramirez and Caysen Allison. Now, Caysen Allison was Caucasian, or what you would consider white, brother, right? And then, of course, Jose Ramirez was Mexicano, Mexican. Now, race shouldn't play a factor into this because it was not a racial issue. Not like what some people are trying to make the Karmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf, incident that happened. People are trying to make it a racial thing when that wasn't racial as well. But I understand anytime you have different ethnicities involved, it becomes that because race invokes emotion and people are going to get emotional. And it's always going to come down to the skin tone, pigmentation. And that's unfortunate. That has to be like that. When really, at the end of the day, it's just a whole bunch of unfortunate, foolish mistakes and choices that these youngsters made. Now, a little bit of the backstory. Caysen Allison, this white kid, okay? And I say white kid and I put an emphasis on white kid because that's what the news is doing, right? And Jose Ramirez did not like each other, didn't care for each other. We're actually beefing at school, so it became a thing where, and all of us have been through it that have went to school. You go to school, man, there's someone in particular you don't like. It's not based on race. It's not based on the color of their skin or the way they talk. You just got beef with them. They might have looked at you crazy. You might be the popular one in school. They're popular. So automatically that places you guys in the same bubble. But for whatever reason, these guys were not seeing eye to eye. And everybody in the school knew that it was going to come to a climax. They just were unfortunately not figuring this would be it. So on May 3rd, 2022, what happened was these guys, it all came to a head. There was a lot of shit being talked. There was a lot of people instigating and pushing these two youngsters into a fight. And they ended up in the boys' bathroom where, I don't know about you, man, I missed all my teenage years. So those boy bathroom fights and all that, I was too busy fucking trying to stab people behind a wall in the youth authority. But at the same time, these are a lot of the things that people go through, the fights. And, you try to do it where it's out of the way. It's basically the blinds. Do it where the people who are walking the hallways can't catch you and you can get yours on. So anyways, these guys went to fight. Now, in the midst of this fighting, a knife was pulled out by Caysen Allison, and he began to stab Jose Ramirez. As soon as he began to stab him, because maybe he felt he couldn't beat him up, maybe he was scared, or maybe, just maybe, he wanted to do the ultimate deed. And we're going to get to that right now. I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory. But he ends up stabbing him to death and doesn't just stab him one or two times, but butchers this guy. Now, everybody that was in the bathroom, all these people that were instigating, that wanted to watch the fight, were recording the fight and doing all that. Because, of course, anytime there's an incident nowadays, everyone's quick to pull out their phone and handle business, right? That's what people do. No one's keeping an eye out. No one's looking out there. Everyone's too busy recording and posting it to social media. That's world star. That's the cool thing to do. So now what happens is he basically butchers his kid, comes out of the bathroom after everybody fled and left because they realized it got real tricky. It got real sticky. And this poor kid dies. Now, bad choices. Going in that bathroom, you never know what's going to happen. Anytime you fight, see, I was told the way I was laced up back in the days, when you fight to the end. You're not fighting someone just to hurt them or fighting someone just to hit them in the face. You're trying to end the other person, and they're trying to end you. So by any means necessary, you have to defend yourself. You have to do what you have to do. Now, Caysen Allison, of course, was charged with murder. What happens is he comes out of the bathroom, collapses. You know, his emotions are going. His adrenaline's pumping. There's a pool of blood. At this time, Jose Ramirez, the nurse, they're alerted that there's an altercation. The nurse runs in. She's trying to administer life-saving, help, and he dies at the hospital. Of course he does. He was stabbed multiple times in the leg, back, arms, chest, just everywhere, right? It was an ugly scene. Much uglier than, of course, the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, but similar. So now the authorities go to the home of Caysen Allison. He admits it. He admits guilt. He did it. He tells them why he did it. All that. They arrest him. He leads them to where the knife sat that he used. So now it's an open and shut case. Okay. Well, just yesterday, after some couple years since 2022, they went to trial, and it took 12 hours for the jury to deliberate and come back with a verdict. Now, they could have came with a murder too. They could have came with, of course, manslaughter, but they came with negligent homicide, which is the lower, and it carries anywhere from 8 months to 2 years in prison. Now, there's a lot of people outraged. A white kid gets away with it. If he was black, if he was brown, if he was green, it would have been something different. We'll never know, does one? We'll never know what it would be, but I don't think the white factor played into it at all. What I think played into this was the fact that they were young, they both had beef, and this kid felt like he was pushed into a situation where he had to defend himself. Now, here's the cold twist. There's a couple of twists to this story that a lot of people ain't going to put out there. One of the twists is this, right? Prior to this happening, these guys were in communication with the same girl. So this could have been a beef over a girl. Usually in a man's world, beef is over money or women, and women usually first, right? And of course, the woman's playing both sides. She's getting hers from both sides. It is what it is. That's part of life. You got to understand that. You understand it as you get older, that a woman will play you both at your pocketbooks. Ask Shannon Sharp, he'll tell you, right? It's just the way it is. Now, again, I'm not siding with Shannon. If he did what he did, he deserves to do what he does, right? But at the end of the day, we just know how historically women will play out your pocketbook. So this woman is this girl, not even a woman yet. They're still in high school. She's in communication with both of them. And allegedly, Caysen Allison was making a lot of noise. He was talking about hurting this kid bad, talking about killing him, talking about beating him up, smashing his face in. You know, he made a lot of threats. Now, of course, he's making it to a girl. So he's probably just trying to impress her or act tough. But at the end of the day, them threats coinciding with what actually happened, you could actually see a murder one conviction, because it could be misconstrued to some as premeditated. Like he was already planning and plotting to hurt this guy, to make the ultimate sacrifice. Now, of course, his lawyer presented a different type of case, that he was a scared kid that was pushed into fighting. And I've seen it happen before, where you might have words at lunchtime or something with another kid and everyone's pumping you up. Come on, man, get it. You might not want to do that. You might be scared. You might not want to really fight. It might be cold that day. Something might be going on, but because you have a reputation, you have to save face. You don't want to be the one bullied. You don't want to be the coward. You don't want to be the punk. You do something against the grain, something that you didn't want to do. That is what the defense was, that he was pushed into this bathroom by other people and forced to fight. Now, here's one thing about me that I learned. No one can force me to do shit. Ultimately, it's up to you to make the decision. He could have stood there, got beat up. Yeah, he could have been called a coward and all that. Eventually, over time, it heals all wounds and time passes. But of course, you got youngsters. And of course, this guy, Caysen Allison, is not innocent. Let me explain to you. His defense, like I said, was that he got pushed into the bathroom and did his thing. Okay, the other kid gets killed. Now, the other kid was not aware that Caysen Allison was making these statements to this girl until later on. When he did, he confronted him. That's when they end up going into the bathroom to throw hands. Didn't expect this guy to really pull out a knife. Didn't expect this guy to really go all the way. Hey, they say expect the unexpected, right? They say that for good reason. He should have expected it. He dies. They arrest him. This guy, of course, gets a bail of $100,000 and is let out on bail. Now, what I do in my research and my homework on this case, because I want to see how it coincides with the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf case, I found out that somewhere in 2021, he actually assaulted a family member and was rearrested while on probation or on bond. Caysen Allison, the white kid, right? For beating up a family member or assaulting, maybe verbally, hands. I don't know. They didn't say in the news article, just that he assaulted a family member. That right there shows aggressiveness, anger management. It shows a pattern of not learning your lesson. You're already on trial and going through the motions for killing a classmate, someone at school, whether you liked them or not, whether it was over a girl, doesn't matter. There's no excuse for it, right? There's never an excuse for murder, period, unless some chomo shit, right? But anyways, and he continues to show an aggressive pattern of behaviors. Even with that, he goes to court yesterday, 12 hours deliberation. He's found, they hit him with the least amount of time possible, 8 months to 2 years, negligent homicide. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I see the similarities in the case with Karmelo Anthony, but there's a difference here. The difference is I believe this guy should have got much more time than he got. And it's not because the other kid was Mexican. It has nothing and zero, absolutely zero to do with that. It's because to me, and only me, I see the pattern there. I see that this kid was making idle threats that didn't stay idle too long. He put that shit in drive and let it go, right? I see that this kid had a weapon on him at school, which is a foolish mistake. I see that this kid had a choice. I don't care if people are telling you go in that bathroom. He had a choice to not, so it was a poor choice on his part. And the brutality of the situation, he didn't stab him once or twice. He kept going several times until the kid was gone, right? And also the continual acting out behavior while on bond with the family member. Now, I understand, man, some kids, myself, I was pretty aggressive. I was fucking violent. I was a gang member. Couldn't no one tell me shit, right? I wasn't listening. And of course, I found myself in the same situation to which I ultimately was involved in, a murder case. And I say that to say this. This guy was not a gang member. This guy didn't come from the wrong side of the tracks. He actually came from a 2-parent home. He came from not poverty, not food stamps, not rats and roaches and shiesty approaches. Buenos noches. He didn't come from that. He came from a good, affluent family with all the perks that you would want in life. And all he had to fucking do was go to school and do his homework. But he chose to get involved with the bullshit politics of school and kids, man, and got aggressive and got love. Now, there's a lot of people that are watching the Karmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf case close, right? And I've heard every argument. I've heard it all, right? And people are trying to make it racial. They're trying to say because it's a black kid, and it's a white kid that he's going to get more time than he should, or this, and that. Ultimately, anytime you take a life, anytime, whether it's stand your ground, anything, there's some fucking punishment you're going to pay, whether you pay it in this life or the afterlife. God's going to get his, right? Thou shalt not kill. I'm going to get mine. God's going to get his. It's just what it is, right? So when it comes to the Austin Metcalf case, it's a different situation. It's where what people consider the minority, black, brown, Asians considered the minority, right? Where whites are considered the majority. And what you have is a minority killing the majority. And of course, you have a lot of people riled up on the wood side, brother. They're feeling upset about it. Like, hey, man, this guy is getting a lot of leeway, this black kid, because he brought a knife to school. He made some bad choices. He should have never been in that fucking tent, under that tent. I don't care if it was raining. It was the opposing school. He should have. Look, we all know, man. I never went to high school on the streets. I went in YA, but I could tell you just from watching movies and having family members that went to high school, we all know, man, if there's any type of track meet, football game, soccer game, baseball game, You don't go in the opposing side's dugout, their tent, their area, because they're going to feel some type of way. They might not fucking put hands on you, but they're going to tell you get to pushing. In that case, that's what I see. Austin Metcalf maybe did it a little too aggressively, and the kid felt, like something was going to happen to him. And some people, man, they're called fight or flight. They just take flight. They just right off the top, man. If they feel threatened, and no one can tell you, no one personally, unless it's them, can tell you when you feel threatened. The other day, man, I was at a gas station. I was pumping gas. I seen some fucking car pull up aggressively. Dude jumped out, was like this, but he was just looking at his homeboy behind me, right? Immediately, I'm not going to lie, I peacocked up on it, right? Because I felt like he was being aggressive. That's what I'm saying. There's no one that can dictate when you feel in fear or aggressive or anything like that. Everyone got different emotions at different times. So with the Austin Metcalf case and Karmelo Anthony, that's going to play out how it plays out. The people that are making it racial, the people that are trying to paint a picture by color or race or ethnicity, man, they're foolish. They're foolish because just in this case, yes, you had the white guy, and this is how it impacts. This Caysen Allison, this is how it impacts that. You have Caysen Allison, who's white. And now people are making the argument, look, he got off because he was white. No, he got off because he had a good lawyer that was able to convince a jury that he was in fear for his life. And again, that goes back to what I was saying. No one can tell you when you're at fear and how you're going to act out on that. Now, with the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf case, I believe ultimately, man, truly, that both those kids, man, deserved more in life than they gave. They made foolish mistakes. There was a lot of chaos there that day. It could have been prevented with decent conversation, but instead, someone had to die, and now someone has to go to jail. I believe Karmelo Anthony is going to do a little bit of time. He's not going to get much. And this is going to set a precedent for his lawyer to say, look at this case. Why can't my client get negligent homicide? So don't get all riled up, white people, nor black people, if it works out exactly the same way it works out for Caysen Allison. Because now that's a demo that's being laid. That's something that could be utilized. And I implore to Karmelo Anthony's family, and again, I'm not on one side or the other, man. I'm right down the middle. I feel bad for the family, for the kid who got killed, but I also feel bad for the family that are having to go through this situation with their son. I've been in a situation, imagine me, and this is real. When I got caught up on a murder case, when I got caught up on assault, when anything that I did, my parents, my family, my loved ones went through it with me. It's hard to tell a mother of a son that she raised her whole life, that she birthed, hey, we might take him away forever. You're going to have to visit him behind a fucking glass. You might not see your son forever. We might ship him way across state where you're a single mother. You don't have no action at visiting him. That's pretty, we don't think about that when we're gang members, when we're youngsters, when we're running around doing bullshit, how it's going to negatively affect our family, how it's going to change their whole lives. I remember going to Hawaii. True stories. Want me to tell you a true story? I'll tell you a true fucking story. And I'll never forgive myself. That's why I give my mother everything she wants in life now that I'm in a position to do that. And I can never repay her. As much as I try, I still feel like there's a hole there. Like I fucked up, right? My mother was a single mother. Okay? Welfare, food stamps, barrio, all that. And when I got locked up, I didn't think about her living situation. I didn't care, man. I was out there fucking around with the homeboys, gangbanging, doing my thing, making poor choices. And I didn't think about how it was going to negatively affect. I found my mom would be pissed, but whatever. I'm a kid. I'm going to do what I want to do, right? No one's going to tell me shit. But that affected her food stamps when I got locked up. There was less food in the home. That affected her check. She couldn't afford to fucking live where she lived anymore. She couldn't pay the rent because I was no longer there. So it affected a lot of different things. Her emotionally, financially. She's losing a son. And all that is because I wanted to fulfill being cool to some dudes that really didn't care about me, that ultimately later on in life would call me a piece of shit because I didn't want to gangbang no more. It's crazy, huh? You got to think about the long term instead of the short term. Now, in the case of all these 4 youngsters, none of these guys were in the gang life. None of these guys went through this. They all come from good families. Okay? 2 cases, a lot of bad, poor decisions. And in 1 case, the verdict is already out there. And Caysen Allison is going to get anywhere from 8 months to 2 years. Now, I have a problem with the time that they're giving these youngsters. I believe children should get alternative programs. maybe military school or something that could help him, some structure to respect some authority. But in this case, when you got some kid running around talking about, I'm going to smash a dude's face, I'm going to stab him, I'm going to do this, I'm going to hurt him, I'm going to kill him, and then does that, I believe that at least should be manslaughter and give him a little 10-piece extra crispy with a side order of sucker sauce, sucker. Right? So I think he got off, he had a good lawyer and got off easy. As far as Karmelo Anthony goes, I don't want people to, because the white guy got less time and maybe Karmelo Anthony catches the manslaughter. He has two different cases. I believe the Caysen Allison one was more brutal. It was not premeditated, but thought about. It was in this guy's mind. Whereas with Karmelo Anthony, I think it was more so just a spur of the moment thing that happened. And unfortunately, man, someone lost their life. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think, man. Did I speak some real shit right here? Because I'm telling you guys, I opened up myself as far as how I feel about the situation that I put my family in. And nobody understands the situation that these kids put their family in. Their family's not safe. Like Karmelo Anthony's family says they're getting threats. They're not safe. I understand that. I don't believe in utilizing skin color or ethnicity or race to justify, especially murder. I don't believe in that. But I understand, man, that they could get threats. Whereas it works both ways. Austin Metcalf's family feels like there's not enough remorse there. They feel like, the family's not, giving them the respect that they deserve. And ultimately, we're going to see how that plays out. Now, this Caysen Allison case, this kid's going to go in and do some time. I feel very, very sorry for Jose Ramirez's family because they didn't get justice in this situation. They lost their son brutally. Yes, he did. There was video of him showing him throw punches. Yes, it was a one-on-one mutual combat fight. That kid should have never pulled a knife out. That's the cowardice of people nowadays. Quick to go to weapons. But then cry when they're looking at a lot of time. Hey, don't pull it if you ain't ready to do it. And then if you do it, you already know what comes on the back end of that. Let me know what you guys think, man. This is The Gun and I'm out.